I hope I didn't scare you guys too much with that beginning because I know I was scared. I left the light on for you, so I hope that was enough. I'm John Walker back again with another Digital Juice tutorial, and I'm going to show you how to make this little promo with all this cool camera movement, creepy text, creepy fog from Toxic Templates Collection 2. Now, Toxic Templates is a set of templates for After Effects, and they are very dynamic. There's different types. There's stuff that looks like it was made for, photo albums. There's very hard-hitting stuff, high-tech looking stuff. A lot of it's very pretty, has very bright colors. But let's say you want to go to this because it's really cool, you're in a pinch, and you need to create something fast. Toxic Templates, perfect for that. But what if you're creating something that doesn't exactly fit, but you really like something from Toxic Templates? Let's go into the juicer, and let's say that this right here, the Hall of Stripes, you really like this camera movement. It's very dynamic. It's very cool. But your client is, let's say, a publisher. Okay, I've seen a lot of new promos online for books. So it's a lot of these, After Effects kind of graphics looking projects that are promoting books. And let's say it's a horror novel. Well, you have a horror novel and you don't have anything that's really screaming scary to you inside of the Toxic Templates pack. Well, how can you modify something to make it scary? And let's say you want to use this. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is send this to After Effects. I'm going to say send project to After Effects, import in current project, send now. It's done. So let me click over. And here it is. Here's my folder inside of After Effects. Now I've also brought in, I've got a couple of photo knockouts images here. I got this scary doctor guy, and I've got the kind of Islander looking guy with the machete that's on the cover of the book. I've got a texture from Texture Toolkit 1, Blasted Concrete. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to twirl down my folder here, and I'm going to click on this Hall of Stripes HD. And so this is going to take a second, but Hall of Stripes is a very complex and large project. So when you open it, it may take a second or two for it to cache, and so you can see what's going on. But you're clicking through and there are a lot of layers. There's a lot of action going on here, and you'll notice at the bottom here, you don't see very many layers, but you see the number 87. That means there are at least 87, and I will tell you right now there are more. They are shied. They've left some notes. The designers here left you some notes so you can kind of know to view all layers, deselect the hide shied layer switch. Well, here is our shy layer switch. If you click that, now you will see everything that was hidden from you. They leave it as basic as possible, so that way you manipulate what you need to manipulate. If you want to get more in depth, you have to unshy these layers so you can see what's going on. Now, as we scroll down, you'll notice there are 111 layers. Quite a bit. If you don't have a lot of RAM in your machine, if you don't have a very powerful machine, it may be slow. But I'm going to show you how to pre-render the project, so that way we'll be able to make it a lot more zippy and quick, so that way you'll be able to work more efficiently. Now, all of these pretty colors are great, but we need something scary. So what we're going to have to do first thing is we are going to have to go into our project and replace all of the pretty colors with our concrete texture. I wanted to create something that seemed, let me go back to the promo here, that you're in this kind of underground tomb or garage or something. You got this concrete texture, and it's kind of spooky. We're going to have some spooky lighting, completely different from the feel that you're getting from this project. So what we're going to have to do, it's tedious, I'll be honest with you, but it's not hard. What you got to do is you got to go into each one of these compositions where you have drop zone, and you go into your project, get your texture, and just drag that down in, and then you'll notice it's not as big. Okay, so what you can do is you can go into your effects and presets window here, and I'm going to type motion tile. You can also do reptile if you wanted to, but I like to use motion tile. And then I just want to output. The nice thing about Texture Toolkit is a majority of the textures are seamless. So you can just put this on there and then do an output height and width of, let's say, 300, and now it completely fills your composition, and it is seamless, so that way it looks like it is an ongoing forever concrete texture. So there's your concrete texture. Now we're going to have to do that. Let me close this tab. We're going to have to do that for every single comp here. So all the drop zones, and let me show you some of the other ones. If you go into footage, you've got some here under placeholders. Go into placeholder. And since I already created that other one, what you can do is go into drop zone 1, hit Command C when you click on it, Control C on Windows, and then I'm going to go into placeholder, Command V on Mac, Control V on Windows, and there is my effect on top of my concrete texture. So now I don't have to redo that, but I do need to redo all of the copying and pasting, and that is going to take a few minutes. So through the magic of editing, I am going to go through and replace all this and then show you what my composition looks like. So, bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, so do not adjust your computer screens. That is not noise or interference. That is our concrete texture placed inside of every single pre-comp composition. I went through all of the drop zones, all 24. If you twirl down your other folders here inside of your placeholders, there are I replaced all those, all the pre-comps, I replaced all that, and all I did was I pasted that first texture that I did. I copied Command C on Mac, Control C on Windows, and Command V, pasted it in there. So now it's in there, and you'll notice if I go back in, I still have, there's some other stuff going on. You can see some blue there. You can see some blue there. Not everything, definitely right here, is concrete. There are also some solids if you scroll down here. So you got this solid, okay? Now, we can't just replace that with our concrete texture. What you're going to want to do is if you right-click and go to Reveal Layer Source and Project, you'll see here are our solids. And what I can do is just pick one of them. I'm going to hit Command-Shift-Y, Control-Shift-Y on Windows, and I'm going to replace this with a gray color. I'm just going to make this like a brightness of a 50% gray. And click OK. Click OK. So now there's this, and what I can do is now highlight, click on this first floor. I'm going to hit Caps Lock to kill my refresh so I can do this quickly. But grab this first one underneath my gray one, just scroll down, hold Shift, click, select all of them, go back, click on this holding the Option key on Mac, Alt on Windows, and just drag that over. Now all of these are gray. So that's great, but they do not have the concrete texture applied to them. You're just going to have some gray solids, and you'll definitely be able to see it, and you'll notice. So what we need to do is apply the texture, and also there are some effects. You'll see that there's still some blue, and if you see anything that's got this effects next to it, this FX, that means there are some external, effects applied to it, some drop shadow right here on that solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command A and select every single layer in my timeline. I'm going to hit Command Shift E on Mac, Control Shift E on Windows, and that is going to remove every single effect in my composition. So now I have nothing. They are all exactly the same. And what I want to do is I want to apply my concrete texture to my floor. So I'm going to go up to the top of my composition here. I'm going to go into my project. I'm going to grab my blasted concrete texture. I'm going to drop that into my timeline. I'm going to turn off the eyeball on it because I just need it to be there. I don't need it necessarily. Go back down. I'm going to click on one of these floor layers, and I'm going to go to Effects and Presets. I'm going to just type in Texture, and I want Texturize. If you double click that, go to Texture Layer, blasted concrete, and now that texture is applied to this layer. So if I click on the effect, hit Command C on Mac, Control C on Windows, and then I'm just going to highlight all of these layers here that say floor. Hold Shift, click to select all of them, hit Command V, and now that effect is applied, and you will have your concrete texture on all of these layers. So if I go through, you'll see everything looks just solid one layer. You don't see any depth, you don't see anything. We're going to fix that with some lighting. But first thing I want to do is I want to delete these two. These are not 3D layers. These are kind of just background layers, and you'll notice when we add the lighting, let me add the lighting first, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about, why we want to delete those. So I've got my camera, I've got my null. The camera is being controlled by the null in the camera controller. If I highlight these and hit U, that'll bring up some keyframes, and you'll see that's where my camera animation comes in. So let me hide that, and I'm going to add some lights. I'm going to hit Command Alt Shift L on Mac, and the Control Alt Shift L on Windows, and that will create a new light, and I'm going to call that light 1, and I want it to be this darker brown kind of color, and I want the intensity fairly high. I want it 200%. Then just click OK. So now we've got a new light, and you don't really see a whole lot yet because we're going to add another one. So I'm just going to click on this light, hit Command D on Mac, Control D on Windows to duplicate it. I'm going to hit Command Shift Y to give me my light options. And I'm going to make this a more kind of an orangey, yellowy color, more bright. Still leaving all the settings, 200%, everything. Click OK. Now you can see much more of what's going on. And you'll notice, though, I don't see anything. When I'm clicked on a layer, I don't see any kind of handles or any controls. If you click on this little pull-down menu and go to View Options, you will see on this menu that our layer controls are shut off. So I'm going to check that box, click OK, and now all of my layer controls are back. So I'm going to grab my light here. I'm selected on Light 2. I'm going to grab this. I'm just going to scoot this over in 3D space. So something like that's pretty good. And now we can see a lot more of what's going on. I'm going to brighten this light 1 a little bit. I'm going to hit Command Shift Y to bring up my settings, and I'm just going to brighten just a tad. Click OK. Click OK. And now there's a little more detail there. So I want it to be dark and ominous, but I don't want it to be so dark that I can't see what's going on. I'm going to click both of my lights here, and I'm going to push them back in Z space. So something about right there is pretty good. So now what I want to do is I want to parent them to my null. So that way you'll see what happens if I click on that and parent to the null. Whenever my camera moves, let me turn down my resolution to fast draft. That's going to allow it to update more quickly so you can see what's going on. If I start moving my camera, everywhere my camera goes, the lights come with it. And I may need to brighten those lights just a little bit more. So let's do that right now. You can also, while clicked on the lights, hit AA, and that will bring up your options here. I'm going to turn the intensity up to 300%. And that may be too much. No, it's pretty good. So 300% is pretty good. Light 1 just needs to be brighter. So Command Shift Y, let's just make this a brighter color. Click OK. All right, that's much better. And the thing I was telling you about earlier, you can still see this gray background. That is because of our two solids here at the bottom. They're not 3D, they're just sort of background to fill in any kind of blanks or anything, any sort of not little perfect areas where the wall may not touch completely. If we go in here and we shut off the eyeball and nose, that's gone, and now we can see a lot better. I'm also going to turn off my second vignette. That will brighten up my scene a whole lot more. So now you can see as the camera moves through, everything is lit nicely and it's responding very well because I've got the draft turned down, and so the lights are following the camera and it's lighting our scene, and it actually might be a little too bright now that I've got that vignette turned off. Let me highlight these two, hit AA, and I'm going to turn it back down to 200. That's much better. Close that back. Now what we're going to do, instead of starting to add all of our elements, I'm going to pre-render this scene. What I want to do by pre-rendering is have it rendered out in a QuickTime movie so I can shut off everything and then apply text and effects and all that stuff to the QuickTime movie, and it's going to speed up my workflow a lot more quickly. And what I'm going to do is inside this composition, if you just go to Shift Command / that will add your composition to the render queue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my setting at lossless. I'm going to have best settings, make sure here, and then it's already, I'm just going to pick where I want it to render. That's good right there. So save, and then I'm going to hit caps lock to kill my refresh and hit render. And this is going to render, and through the magic again of editing, we will come back when it's done, and I will show you what our rendered QuickTime looks like. All right, so our movie has rendered, and I have imported into my project here my Hall of Stripes HD movie. If I double click on it, you can see that it is a very zippy, done, rendered QuickTime movie with my lights added, and now we can take this and drop it into our timeline. I want to put it below the camera stuff because we're going to keep the camera. It's important that we keep the camera and the nulls and the vignettes and all of that because we want to be able to use those when we place our text, because it's going to still live in 3D space, but now instead of this heavy project with all the stuff going on in the background, we just have this QuickTime movie. So I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to scroll down, hold down Shift, click on that to highlight everything, turn on our little shy guy for those, and then I'm going to shut off the eyeball. So now those are all off. Shy those layers, and boom, now we have everything we need. Let me unshy because I want to see all my vignettes and faders and cameras and controllers. I don't want all that hidden. And we can also shut off our lights. I'm not going to be using the lights any longer, so we can turn on the shy layer on that. We don't need our concrete or the optics compensation. The fader is fine. Leave all that on. This vignette's not being used. We can turn that on. So now shy. Now we have gone to 6 layers instead of 100, and I believe it was 14. So pretty good. So now we have our QuickTime movie, and you can see this sucker is zooming along. I can scrub right through it. Let me actually turn my quality back up to adaptive resolution so I can actually get a higher quality and still just scrub right through it, no problem. And this might be a little dark for the screen capture, so I'm going to add a levels effect and just turn this up because I want you guys to be able to see what's happening here. So something like that's pretty good. So now you should be able to see everything that's going on. The room's still ominous and creepy, but a little bit brighter so the compression doesn't kill anything in the shadows. So here we go. So we've got this. Now I want to start adding my fog. There are a lot of tutorials online about creating fog. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but let's just get into the basics. I'm going to hit Command Y on Mac, Control Y on Windows. I'm going to call this fog. I'm going to make it a black solid. Click, well actually let's make it white. Let's make it a white solid and let me show you why. Click OK. So now we get this white solid. I'm going to go to my effects and presets and I'm going to type particle, and I've got CC particle world. Double click on that and you will see we now have this 3D particle system that is living in the 3D space of our scene because we still have our 3D camera, and so anything that's 3D, this is a 3D plugin, so anything that's 3D is going to react to that camera. And our QuickTime movie doesn't have to be 3D because it's already been rendered and it's got the exact same camera move, so just be careful not to change the camera. But here we are, we've got our particle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate this to where it's going to look like fog. First thing I want to do is I want to change the physics. Now I don't want really any velocity at first. I'm going to turn the gravity to 0.2. I want it pretty low. Turn the extra off. Turn all that off. And I want the animation to be a fractal omni. Okay? So I'm going to turn that down. Go to my particle. And I'm going to go into my producer. And I'm going to change my producer here. So I'm going to stretch the radius out pretty big. Let's do 3 on all of them. Maybe not on the Y. We don't want it so big on the Y. So something like that is pretty good. And I'm going to turn off my grids and guides. I don't need those. So let's turn all this stuff off. Don't need my horizon or my axis box. So we've got our particle here. Now, I want to change it to a shaded sphere or faded sphere. You could do either or. Let's do faded. I need to change the size to, let's try 5 and 5 on each one of them. The opacity is going to change. We'll mess with that here in a moment. The color map, I want to do origin constant, and that will draw. That's why we did this white layer, because that will draw upon my layer. I'm also going to, inside of my particle, going to change my particles per second, or the birth rate. It's actually up here at the top. It's not inside a particle, but birth rate, I want to bring that up. We want it to be pretty full, maybe about 5. So now we've got, it's pretty thick. I don't think this fog is going to really work, but we're going to turn down the opacity. It's getting something going there. That's pretty good. Maybe 10. Maybe change the size. Bring it up a little bit. Maybe 7. Now I'm going to move the producer. Stretch that back down and move the position of the producer down, because we want it to be like it's kind of floating on the floor. It's rolling on the floor here. So you'll see now we've got this nice 3D fog. So when the camera moves, the fog sort of moves with it. And you'll see in some of the scenes that it's kind of high. So we might want to bring the radius up a little bit and move the producer down some more. We want it to be just enough to where there's some fog going on, and then when the camera moves down, that it's not completely covering up the entire scene. And that's kind of good. It's like it gets scarier towards the end. So, I mean, that's some pretty simple fog. You could reach for the compositor's toolkit here. The only thing about that is it's going to be a static shot. It's not going to be 3D within your scene. So if you wanted some super realistic fog, I would highly recommend going to compositor's toolkit and using some of the fog files that they have. But since we're doing sort of this kind of quirky, scary promo, we're just going to go with this for right now, and that way we've got a fog that reacts with our camera and our environment. And you can change the color, make it darker if you want, but I think for right now that's going to do just fine. So we've got our fog. Now we need to create our text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new composition. So I'm going to hit Command N on Mac, Control N on Windows, and I'm going to call this text 01. And I want this to be the size of our comp. I want it to be 1920 by 1080. And the duration, I only want it to be 10 seconds. So now I'm going to create my text. I'm going to get my text tool here. The font that I'm using is called The Evil of Frankenstein, or for all you Mel Brooks fans, Frankenstein. And it's a free font. I downloaded it online, and I needed something that was kind of scary. It's hard to find a good scary font, but I wanted something that kind of put fear into your mind and you would be thinking about it. So I'm going to type in, from the author of a scary book. This is just for example. I think I put from the author of, what did I put? I know I had Hell's Hospital. You don't want to go to Hell's Hospital. Murderous Intent. So let's stick with what we got. So from the author of Murderous Intent. So there is our first text. And I wanted to have this kind of gradient thing going on. There's some gradient plugins that work pretty well, but what I did is I created 2 solids. I did one solid, hit Command Y, Control Y on Windows, call this grad 1. I wanted it to be sort of a light orange, something like that. Click OK. And then I wanted to do another one, hit Command Y on Mac, Control Y on Windows, call this grad 2. And I wanted it to be a much kind of reddish orange, more of a darker color, something like that. Click OK. And then I just created a mask. I double-clicked on my mask tool, double-click on the handle of the mask here, hold down Command on Mac, Control on Windows to pull the top and the bottom at the same time. something about like that. I want to subtract the mask, hit F for feather, and then just feather it out. And then what I did is I just shift clicked, hit switches and modes here to get down to my transparent, preserve transparency. And so now it's using the alpha of my text. So I can adjust my mask here if I double click and get it to where the gradient is hitting. I need to feather less. Maybe something like that. It's almost like a Halloween kind of color. And you could do it to taste. You can make it more red if you want. If you could hit Command Shift Y, we'll click on the layer and let's make it more of a red. So there you go. You got your text. Now what I can do is if I go to my project window and I grab my text 01, just drop that below my fog, and then I'm going to make it 3D. And now it is 3D inside of my scene. And what you just have to be conscious of is whenever you set this up, you've got your 3D text now. You just have to make sure that, when the camera moves, watch. Now, see, it's going to flip all around because it's not obscured by any of the walls. So you just have to cut it to where it's going to come in. So right about there, you need to set the beginning of your layer, and then when it's going to go off screen, we'll have to scoot it over. So when the camera moves, it's gone, and you can just drag the end here and just trim it. And so now it looks like it just flies on, and then boom, it's gone. So there you go. You've got your first piece of text there. I'm going to turn on motion blur. And what you need to do is, I wanted to make it more 3D looking. So all I did is I just duplicated the layer, went to my effects, went to fill, generate fill, double clicked, made this black, and then just pushed this behind it a little bit in Z space, and then scooted over. So it's got this sort of depth to it, and then clicked on the text layer again, Command D on Mac, Control D on Windows, push that back even further so it's more of a shadow, and then I went to fast blur, started typing fast blur, and put about like a 20 pixel fast blur on it, turned down the opacity to about maybe 50%, scale it up maybe a little bit, scoot that over, maybe up. And so now you have a shadow that is reacting to the camera and sort of your faux 3D text here. So it's looking pretty good. So let's add our doctor piece here. And what we'll do is we'll go to Project. We'll go to our Photo Knockouts layer. Here's our doctor. We'll drag that right above our text. Comp him. So once you drop him in, hit Command Shift C on Mac, Control Shift C on Windows. I'm going to call this Crazy Doctor. And so here he is in his composition because I wanted to do some adjustments to him. Let me create a new solid. Let me call this Fade. And I'm going to make this black. Click OK. Preserve transparency. And if I click on my transparency, you'll see that he is covered by this. And then what you can do is just double click, create a mask, move this down, feather, hit F. Let me move the bottom part down because I wanted him to kind of blend into the floor a little bit. And then I'm just going to turn down the opacity. So something like that. And then I created another shadow, hit Command Y, call this shadow. I'm going to make comp size, click OK. Get my mask, make it an elliptical mask, and just sort of draw. Let me zoom in here. A circle. Make sure that it fits within your composition. You don't want it to be cut off or anything. You may have to hit Command K and increase the size, maybe go to width 800, and hit Command K. Let me change the height to 1800, just so you got a little room to work. And then make sure if you do that, you hit Command Shift Y and change your comp your solid to your comp size, and then adjust your mask accordingly. So something like that, be sure to put that below his feet. Then hit F for feather. Adjust this edge because we don't want this to get cut off. So that gives him like this little shadow, just roots him into the floor. And then I did some color correction. I clicked on him, did effect and presets, went to curves, double clicked, and then just kind of went crazy. Horror movies usually have just some kind of weird color correction. Change the reds and the greens and the blues. He's kind of got a amber kind of tint to him to match the scene. So there's our crazy doctor. So now if I click on him and make him a 3D layer, hit the same thing, hit W, make sure you're set for rotation instead of orientation, hit V to get your selection tool, and then just adjust him, put him in the scene where he needs to be. So he looks like he's standing on the floor. And so we need to do the same thing where we cut him off when he is not on camera. So right about there, we'll have his layer start. And so now he'll move in. The camera sort of focuses on him. And if you go down to your camera, like we did earlier, hit Shift, click on both of these, hit U to reveal your keyframes. The main keyframes you want to worry about are on this null, but you may want to pay attention to these too for your Z rotation. But you'll see, we also need to cut him off because he gets pretty crazy there. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an effect to cut him off instead of just chopping him. So in a lot of horror movies, you'll have that stuttering kind of the ring effect where it's like a zombie kind of moving towards your camera. So we'll notice right about here is where our camera move starts. So he needs to be gone by this keyframe right here. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hit Alt on Windows, Option on Mac, and End bracket, and that will chop my layer right there, so it will end. And then I'm just going to back up a few frames. I'm going to back up, 1, 2, 3 frames. Hit Command-Shift-D. Click on the layer below. Back up 1, 2, 3. Command-Shift-D. Command-Shift-D on Mac, Control-Shift-D on Windows will split the clip at the timeline, the playhead there of your timeline, or I believe it's the current time indicator is what it is known as. Yeah. So we've got this. And then we're going to have him move up. I'm going to do one more, Command-Shift-D. So this layer right here, what we're going to do is we're just going to scoot him up, hold Shift, push him forward. Something like that's good. Go to the next one. Click, hold Shift, move him way forward. Get him right into the camera. And then on this last one, I'm going to click on the layer, hold Shift, pull him forward. Get right in his face. And then I'm going to do, in the middle of this, I'm going to make sure I'm on the beginning of the frame, go down 1, 2 frames, hit Command-Shift-D, and then I'm going to go to Effects. This is what always done in scary movies. Do the classic invert. So there's that, and then hit Page Down, and I'm going to hit Command-Y and Control-Y on Windows and create a flash frame. Make this white. Click OK. And I'm going to hit Alt, begin bracket. That makes it 1 frame long. So you'll do the stutter, do, and he'll move out. And we want to turn motion blur on for all of our crazy doctor layer. And let's do a quick RAM preview here and see what we've got. All right, so you got your text, you got your fog, there's our creepy doctor, and then he's gone. And it's just a cool effect. It's a way to get him out of there, and it's done in horror movies a lot, just sort of as with that jump scare that you give the audience. And, I added some more text from here. I think you get the idea of what I've done from what I've shown you here. And you just kind of keep going. You go to the next scene, you add some more text, you make it 3D, do the exact same steps we've done. And let me show you a quick thing on the text, though. Whenever you're going to make another text layer, what you want to do is the easiest thing is go to your text composition here. If you just hit Command-D on Mac, Control-D on Windows, it'll make another layer so you can go in. And then you just type in, and the author of Hell's Hospital. And so now you've got your text, and then you can just drag it into your timeline, text 2, right here. And you want to put it after the next camera move. And it looks like the next camera move sort of ends right there. Make it 3D, and you'll have to sort of adjust it and rotate it. But you get the idea. Move it into place. Make sure it's below your fog layer, so the fog is in front of your text. And then you do your effect again. You make it 3D looking, and it starts right there. So after this move is done, it spins around, and make sure you don't start it. And you may have to sort of hide it. You may run into these little situations where you got to kind of put it right about there. So it comes over. Let's scoot it in. And so there it is. And the author of Hell's Hospital. And then when it goes away, you just chop it again and it's gone. So pretty cool. It's pretty easy to do, and it's something completely out of the box when you're thinking about doing something from the toxic templates where you see something that you think looks really cool, and you look at it and then you go, man, how did he create that? I replaced literally 116 layers or 113 layers with one concrete texture, and it was not hard to do. Like I said, it took me about 5, maybe 6 minutes to go in and replace everything. And all I did was copy and paste, so it was real easy. It was just kind of boring, tedious, just Command V, Command V, Command V, Command V, Command V. And once I did that and took out some of the extra stuff, you may have to experiment. There'll be some little files and little things that you'll see in the background. Like I figured out those 2 wall layers were not 3D, and you had to delete those. And other than that, though, I mean, this is a very powerful template package, because not only are they just great out of the box, you could do something like this, switch things out, and they look really cool when you're done, and gives you a very professional look, and it's very, very versatile. So in case you get something like Hell's Hospital comes out with a new book, maybe it's Hell's Hospital 2, and you've got to create a scary promo for it, you know exactly what to do. Feel free to ask me any questions below in the comments, and I will answer them best as I can. Thanks for watching another Digital Juice tutorial. I am John Walker.